So welcome to the first of this series of 5 Madaxeman battle reports from the competition recently held in Helsinki. And you may be wondering what this is on the screen, just to get us in the mood. Well, obviously the competition started on a Saturday morning with Team Central London doing some tourism around Helsinki on the Friday, but that did mean we had time for some breakfast before we headed off to the venue on Saturday. And this is the place that we saw these fantastic pork and banana muffins, I believe, is what it is translated from Finnish. Well, it might be something like that, but it's close enough. It's up north, it's very dark. No, in fact, it's very light all the time. It's slightly weird. So pork and banana muffin sounds exactly fine to me, even at the bargain price of €4.90, because, you know, there's all sorts of weird stuff once you get into funny languages, and Finnish is very much at the top of the list from that one. But, you know, nothing like a bit of cantaletti really to get ready for the event. And this, again, more food from the night before. I think this was €23 for a burger and chips in a heavy metal bar. But of course it's a heavy metal bar because it's Helsinki and we're into rock. We're in Helsinki, we're in Finland, that's the way it works. But enough of this nonsense. Let's get on with the games and look at what actually happened. And I think this is the key thing. I chose a feudal Scandinavian army, not because it's particularly good, not because I thought it was super clever for the theme or anything, but really you're going to Scandinavia. Well, I know Finland isn't in Scandinavia, but it's kind of close. It's that sort of vibe. You're going to Finland. You do have to take something culturally appropriate to a Northern Crusades themed competition. And taking a Danish Scandinavian, feudal Scandinavian army seemed to be the option for me, and there was various other reasons for it. So let's have a quick look at the list that I picked, and look at this. It's another classic with 24 units, including a fortified camp in there, and enormous numbers of different troop types in most of the commands. Maybe easiest to start down the bottom. This is a command of 4 medium swordsmen impetuous. One of them's elite. He's got a general in it, the Baltic ally. It's an internal ally in the feudal Scandinavian list, and I thought this would be a bit of fun. Anybody with spearmen is going to be in trouble against this, and they can also hide in a wood, in terrain, behind a hill somewhere, jump out, catch people out, and that worked really, really well for me in competition in Lisbon a couple of years ago with an Anglo-Irish army, where I had 4 Irish warriors who jumped out on people and did very, very well. They weren't impetuous at the time. These are impetuous. That's a bit more hairy. And then let's have a look at the other 2 commands, a 7 and a 10. These commands are basically doing the same sort of thing. They are a block of spearmen, some with support, some which are not quite so good. They're also got a huscarl in them, full fat, as you might call it, heavy swordsman, turn-ended weapon support elite. That one's even got armor with it. So loads and loads of stuff going on with these huscarls. You've got a crossbowman to reach out and force people to come and have a go at you. You've got some light infantry bow to skirmish and support that. And then on either side of it, both commands have got a couple of medium knight impetuous to act as a kind of mobile counter strike, being the idea. So the big picture is that these commands draw people onto them. They force enemies who probably have got a load of knights to charge into supported spearmen, and then the medium knights come around the flanks and chase away the flanks, and it's basically forcing enemy knights to attack a sponge whilst you flow around the outsides and hopefully mug some people in the ambush. But you know, that's one reason for taking it. The other really was just to try and use some fairly rarely used troop types. These are actually Hungarian, but kind of they're sort of Eastern, weirdly non-West European feudal knight type guys. So I thought they will do for the Scandinavian, the Danish knights. There's another view of them there. Nice flags, all sorts of different heraldry. I think that is Hungarian heraldry, but I can probably get away with it for Danish. And then I'd got these guys, you may have seen these painted up in the last year or so. These are new museum Z-sculpt figures of huscarls, and I wanted, I bought them for sort of the Scots armies that get a lot of the Galaglass, but these are officially, I think they're technically Saxons, but they look kind of Huscarly to me, and it would save me using my actual Vikings. I wanted something looking a bit later, so it's a good opportunity to use some of these guys, cute as they are. especially if you can sort of hide some of their shields in the background. And then also I've got a load of these medieval spearmen. Probably need a bit more work on the faces. I did these a while ago, but look, this one has got basically herring on it. So if you're doing a Scandinavian army in the feudal period and you've got shields with herring on them, you're going to be using that army, aren't you? So this sort of jammed as many of these troop types in as I could possibly manage. And finally, these were the Baltic guys. NLI, some stuff that I picked up ages ago and based up. I've got some based as heavy infantry, some based as medium infantry. Hard to find what to do with them, but they're really nice figures. So using them as the Baltics, jumping out of woods, and that was very much the plan. Jumping out of woods was the idea, to get these guys on table as well. So what, that's the army. You can see it there. It's big, it's not clever, it's kind of sort of spongy. It's got this novelty element here. It's got the novelty element of the replaced Huscarls coming in as medium knights to give it a bit of extra punch that can sit together or can work on the flanks. Just something a bit different to use all of those troop types, and very much for a Northern Crusades thing. It's a Scandinavian army really. And what did I fight in the first game? That's the big question. It was a paleological, one of those, as it's pronounced up here from Wikipedia, Byzantine Empire in the sort of 15th century, when it was becoming a bit knighty, when it's becoming a bit cavalry-ish. The Scutatoi are sadly long gone, and it doesn't quite look the same as it used to do. And then all sorts of Serbs, Bulgarians, Venetians, Latins, Genoese, Turks, all sorts of different stuff, until the sort of the army kind of eventually fell over. And what did this army look like? It kind of looked a bit like mine in some ways. A couple of spearmen, a couple of archers, medium cavalry impact, which support sort of counter-strike troops. The two Almugavars as some infantry punch, countering mine, and a few bits and bobs. 4 Serbian knights elite, heavy knights. That's pretty tricky for me. They're going to have to get absorbed by the spearmen. And then 4 medium cavalry bow, a kind of Mongol-y, steppy type ally that hopefully I can drive off in some way, shape or form, and see what that looks like. And here's some paleological Byzantines doing a bit of besiege work. Got their archery out there, got all their funky armor, doing all this stuff, people falling out of fortifications. It's all good. So, but let's get on with the game and see what happens. So here's the terrain setup. By the looks of it in this game, just looking back at some of my notes, I attacked in the plains. It was my opponent's choice to defend in the plains. And what happens here, you've got a plantation over there, you've got a field here. This looks like a river that I probably laid down because it looks a bit like mine. Some nonsense terrain back here. Another plantation, hasn't really achieved anything. Hill with a field on it. I've put a dubious ambush there that I suspect should possibly be further back, unless I've forgotten whether I was attacking or defending. And here you've got my 2 main commands, the 2 sponge commands, both with the reserve knights on the flanks. They can threaten anything that might come through there. These guys can sit here and absorb this kind of knightly cavalry attack, hopefully push that one away. And I think the Baltics are hidden over here because it's the only place for them, and I know this is going to be a fairly mounted army. I guess I could have tried to ram them through here. That might have been a cleverer thing, but to be honest, I was a bit obsessed with hiding them and jumping out with them, really. So I hid them and aimed to jump out with them. And let's have a look what the army looks like kind of from the front. So here they are moving up slightly, getting closer towards a sort of more aggressive start line. The knights expanding out. I've sent forward some light horse and some skirmishers to try and pin what is no doubt going to turn out to be bowmen and Almugavars in the woods. And this is forming a nice solid line ready to receive the knights. It's got vulnerabilities, so it feels worth charging. If it's too strong, the knights won't charge it at all. I want them to charge it. I want them to get sucked into a long protracted fight whilst the numbers work on the other flanks. And yet my ambush must still be over there. And ta-da, there they come out. Probably deployed too far forward if I was attacking. And here you've got these medium infantry swordsmen, impetuous, couple of light infantry with 1 javelin, 1 bow, and all there is really on this flank is a couple of light horse and some of the medium cavalry bowmen. So they should be able to sweep that away, and my 2 knights on this side have come out as well. So this stuff looks like it's kind of outnumbered and may well be driven away, which is kind of part of my plan, always has been. So the 2 armies are just sort of trundling towards each other. I'm in no hurry to to get forward much further than this, to be honest. I've got a few crossbowmen. I want to ping some damage onto the knights and the cavalry. I want to buy time for these guys and these knights to push away this end of the line over here. And yeah, there's the Almugavars, there's the bowmen. I haven't really got anything here to counter them, but I want my knights to sort of stay here and keep them out of the game, such that effectively I'm trying to make this lot go in unsupported against a wall of spears with overlaps on both sides. If the knights can keep the bowmen and the Almugavars bottled up there and this lot can push forward, that's kind of the plan, really. So let's see. You've got the Serbian knights driving forwards, the cavalry driving forwards in a big solid line, my crossbowmen looking like a weak link in the middle of the line. I'm still trying to sort of shuffle out and work out what should be where. One of the first times I've really put the army on the table, so they're a little bit stuck. Not totally confident in the Huskarls' ability to withstand a night charge, so on a narrow table I've stuck them in the back as a reserve as well, but it looks like these guys are just coming forwards ready to have a good old go at it. And there it is from another side. So again, this is a general, it's not any of my infantry. My knights are here. The Almugavars have still stayed in the wood. They've not made a rush to get in front of their spearmen. These bowmen are looking here, which is almost getting into target range for the knights. Couple of spearmen in the line. There's the knights, there's the cavalry, and I've still not managed to push past yet, but the game's developing pretty quickly. This is probably my second move where I've ended up in a nice tidy solid line, trying to get these two crossbowmen to do as much effective shooting and this one bowman to do as much effective shooting as possible. So here it goes. We've had the charge has gone in, that's driven away as expected some of these medium cavalry and the light horse. I'm sure the bolts have had a bit of a go as well, but probably gone short. Not charged as far as they could do. That's allowed this end of the line to kind of swing in, getting these crossbowmen the opportunity to put in more shooting at the knights. I just want to damage these guys before they hit my spear line. These Huskarls, very, very happy to face up against medium cavalry with bow. The knights are pushing past, but these guys are going to come back, so this isn't an opportunity really yet for the knights to come piling on here. I could have done with these guys going even further. Not much damage. I can't see any other markers sat behind these guys at the moment. So what's going on? The Serbs have gone in. They've just piled in unsupported on either flank. I've got an overlap here, I've got an overlap here. Supported spearmen, supported spearmen, supported spearmen against the crossbows who are not going to do well, but hopefully against the rest that kind of works. You can see my two knights have rushed up to face off against these bowmen. They're taking the risk of some of the shooting, but if they can get into the bowmen, should be squishy time, and then roll up that pins the two medium cavalry impact sort of in place. They can't rush off over here because there's a possibility of a night breakthrough they might have to try and deal with. My Huskarls are trying to work their way out to get into these spearmen as well, but it's all going to be about how this combat goes, and let's have a look how it goes. So, well, not great to be honest. 2 hits on the crossbowmen, unsurprising. 2 hits on these guys. They've taken one back. That may well have been a shooting casualty from earlier on, I think, but no more damage to any of the knights. So you've got none of the knights have taken any damage apart from that one, and he's fighting a damaged spearman. So that's just not good, really. And as we say, the cavalry have kind of come back here. Other people have they've turned around. They're stopping this roll-up effect on the flank. But it looks like my knights have started to take some hits from the shooting as well, and the spearmen have kind of got in their face too. This Huskarl's not quite got a gap to get into. I've just got to create some space for him to hopefully do some damage to the spearmen. But I could really have done with doing some damage to these Serbs in the first round when they charged into the spears, where I get my best factors with the overlaps. But let's see how this goes on in further rounds of combat. So again, my 2 impetuous converted Huskarls are off chasing. I've broken this whole set of troops up into individual units, which is great. They've all evaded different times, different directions, and I've largely cut them off from this guy who the Huskarls have got into. I've got people in a position to turn his flank, which will then start to put pressure on the knights. The bolts are still racing forwards, but way out distance. So these knights are just rolling long. They're charging as far as they can. The bolts are not really catching up, which is a bit of a shame, and so it may lead to these guys being surrounded. But I've got starting to develop that position. This guy is not wanting to do this fight, I'm sure, but he has to hold on to hold the flanks of the Serbs in that combat there. And let's have a look on the other side. So I've gone in, I've got one of my bowmen and an overlap against an injured bowman, so that's 2 factors up. I've got knights, he's taken 2 hits from shooting, which is pretty lethal, but he's still gone into the other swords, into the other bowmen, so they should be, you know, squishy stuff. Two factors up there. I'm, what is it, 1, 2, 3 plays 2 there, maybe 2 all, but I'm elite. I've got armor, I've got furious charge, I've got reserves coming in here, even though he looks like he's taken a hit as well, and this is still going on. Looks like the casualties have stabilized broadly over there, but here's a big opportunity to punch through, occupy these guys, create space for the Huscarls to get into the spearmen, threaten the Almugavars, who then won't be able to come out, do all sorts of damage here on the end of the line. So let's see what's going on. So the knights and these guys have only just barely won. They've done 1 hit. Oh, that was there already. They've done nothing there. The crossbowman's gone. That's a big hole in the knights. One of the knights has taken another hit, but those casualties are just the Serbs in close combat are just really pushing their way through here. 2 hits there, 2 hits there on these guys as well. So my sponge theory isn't really working, and now that's evaporated, and these guys are in the wrong place to fill the gap. That's only going to really get worse. And this logjam, instead of breaking through and being able to push in, everybody's just sort of becalmed here, waiting for what should be the inevitable to happen. But over here, the uninevitable happens. So the bowmen defeat the knight. The injured overlap bowmen start to defeat my bowmen. The Almugavars have come up, which is going to be a problem for my light horse. With the knight blowing up, that causes another casualty there. This one's now on 2 hits. Spearmen have gone into my spearmen. At least my guys are doing the business there. But here I've got 2 3-hit markers there. Those are 3 hits. These guys are all on the edge of death, with these guys still behind them. There's a lot for this guy to do. It's getting tricky. I'm starting to do some damage to the Serbs, but not enough. The second Almugavar is not even really committed. And let's see what's happening here then. So again, it looks like somehow this injured spearman has suddenly turned the tables and defeated my spearman there. One of the Serbs is really struggling. Another one's taking hits, but 1, 2, 3. That's with 3 hits. That's almost gone. 2 overlaps, he's certainly going to be gone. Big hole there, another hole there, another hole there. I've lost 1, 2, 3, call it 4, 5 troops there. And that's the first time that I've managed to get into the flank of some of these Serbs. So they've absolutely crushed it really over here in the middle. Instead of being crushed over on the flanks and being absorbed, they've really toughed it out. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at this, but and I think that may even be some of my knights trying to chase all the way over there and starting to get mugged and surrounded. So yep, what's happening over here? We've got my 2 knights chasing, you've got these guys chasing, but we've not yet chased anybody off table. We've not quite yet got into the baggage. It's starting to run out of table and run out of time. But you know, not a bad piece of running across open field against light horse for these medium foot warriors. And let's have a look back at the main part of the battlefield. With this having gone so well, the medium cavalry have just been free to redeploy. So these guys, the Huscarl, in fact, there appears to be a missing Huscarl there. Maybe he's somehow managed to loot. Oh no, there he is. He's in there. So, but with gaps opening up and medium cavalry commanded by general coming back in, I've got medium foot here. I've got bowmen here who are going to get run over. I've got spearmen who are in trouble. I've beaten one of the Serbs, hurrah, but it's put these guys in a perilous position. These 3 have just broken through the middle. My line has just failed and collapsed over here. Light horse are gone, 2 knights are gone, spearmen are gone, spearmen, crossbow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, there's a lot of casualties racking up here with the Serbs just having ground their way through the middle, and all my punches have just landed pretty squishily and achieved very little over here. So even as I try and roll up the rest of the Serbs, this is just sort of punishment beating against somebody who's already done the business. I finally get that unit of Huscarls into spearmen. Looks like they've taken a right kicking as well, onto 3 hits straight away, which is pretty terrible. Spearmen going well. My light horse are just having to try and neutralize these pretty cool Almugavars. So it's just all really whilst it's cleared away, there's so much casualties been taken in my army that's designed to take casualties over here, and there's all sorts of mess going on over the other side. So look at these victorious guys. They've just swept everything away in front of them. This funny little formation of guys have left nothing at all there, nothing standing in front of them. And now they're free to roll up the rest of my spearmen as well. So the two bowmen, this guy's still carrying his injury, quite remarkable there, ready to do the damage. Sorry, the Almugavars are ready to finish off these guys as well. And here I am. I'm nearly at the baggage. I've forced these guys to halt. They don't want to evade off table, but even so, they're holding up well against my knights. Not managed to get in. These guys haven't really found anybody to fight. Just been a big withdrawal by my opponent on their right wing in the face of these knights and the bolts, with very little achieved from my point of view. And let's have a look. Suddenly totted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a general who's obviously been committed into combat. That's pretty much, with what's left on table, that is my army. That's it all over, and it's a defeat in the first round for the feudal Scandinavians against the logical Byzantines.
This means war.